So I want to go through a couple of problems on this worksheet before you finish the rest of it as an assignment. So right away I want to talk about these directions. It says find the sum of the angle measures of the polygon. Find the sum of the angle measures. That means the interior angle sum, and that's where we derive that equation. So that was from this worksheet here, where I ultimately derived the equation S equals 180n minus 360, and that was from the pattern we saw based on all of these shapes, all these polygons, breaking them into triangles and finding their interior angle measures, and then plotting them both on a table and a graph, and then writing the equation in slope-intercept form. So S equals 180n minus 360. S equals 180n minus 360. That is the equation that we derived. And again, S is the interior angle sum. Interior, make that look a little better. Interior angle sum means you add up all the angles in a polygon, and that's the sum, the result when you add of all those angles inside of the polygon. And n is the number of sides. Number of sides. There we go. All right, so I need to plug in the number of sides for n, and then solve, and I will get the interior angle sum, and that's what we're asked to do on this one. So let's talk about number 3. So number 3, you couldn't break this one down into all these different triangles. So what we have to use on this one is just this equation. We're just going to count the number of sides. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sides. So I'm going to plug in a 12 into my equation for n. So 180 times 12 minus 360. So 180 times 12, I'm going to pull out my calculator on this one. 180 times 12, 2,160. 2,160 minus 360. All right, so we do that. 2,160 minus 360, and it is 1,800. So the interior angle sum of this one is 1,800 degrees. And that is it. All right, let's go on. So you're going to have to do the same thing on numbers 1 and 2. Please use that equation. It will help you out because the ones that I'm going to be giving you on your quiz on Friday might have many more sides. And you really don't want to sit there trying to make triangles. Or it might be like a problem like this where it would be very difficult to try to break this into triangles to count up all those 180s because you'd have to account for every single angle of this shape. All right, so let's see. Let's try number 5. It says find the value of x. Well, I don't know what x is, but what I do know is if I have a shape, a polygon, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides, I can find that interior angle sum. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to start by finding the interior angle sum of a 6-sided polygon. By the way, what's the name? What is the name of a 6-sided polygon? Hopefully you're thinking hexagon. If not, be ready for that on the quiz. You might see questions like that where I ask you to name the polygon. All right, so I have a 6-sided polygon known as a hexagon. So I'm going to plug in 6 for the number of sides. I'm going to do 180 times 6. 180 times 6. And then I need to subtract off my 360. So I've got 1,080 for 180 times 6 minus 360. So minus 360, and I get 6,120. Oh, wait, no, I didn't type that in right. That doesn't make sense. 1,080. 1,080 minus 360. 720, that makes sense. So S equals 720. All right, so that's the interior angle sum. That is not the value of x. That's if I add up all these angles, that's what I would get as their sum if I add them all up. So I'm going to break off from this. I'm going to say, okay, I need a new equation. If I add all these angles, remember this box here implies that this is 90 degrees. And then this one over here is also 90 degrees. So if I add all these up, 90 plus 90, 90 plus 90, plus, I'll put the 120 since those are just constants, those are like terms with the 90s, I'll add the 120s, plus an x plus another x. And if I add up all the angles inside of this polygon, I know they should add up to 720, so I'm going to say this must equal 720. Now I have an equation that I can solve, and I can solve for x. So let's add up all the constants. So I have 90 plus 90 plus 120 plus 120. I get 420 plus x, so plus 2x's. So 2x equals 720. If I subtract 420 from both sides to get that term with the x in it by itself, then I'll be able to solve for x. So that cancels out here. I get 2x equals 720 minus 420 is 300. And then divide by 2 to undo the multiplying by 2. I get x equals 150. And there is my answer. Okay, so that's the process with these. You first have to find the interior angle sum of a polygon, in this case that has 6 sides, over here for one that has 5 sides, so you plug in a 5 here. Then after you find the sum, you have to say, okay, I'm going to add up all these angles, and they should equal that interior angle sum. In this case it was 720, and then you can solve. This one, I'm not going to do these problems for you, but I just want to talk about the directions. It says find the measure of each angle, not all of the angles. I'm not asking you for this interior angle sum, but you are going to have to find the interior angle sum and then divide by the total number of angles. The reason you can do that is because it says it is a regular polygon, and that's straight out of the notes. That means that all sides and angles are congruent. All of the angle measures in here are the exact same angle measure. That's why you're going to find the interior angle sum and divide it across however many angles there are. Convex versus concave. You can look back in the notes for the two definitions there. And then number 10, let me just read this through real quick. It says we have a regular hexagon. So hopefully you were paying attention earlier in this lesson when I told you what a hexagon was, if you don't already know that. What is the measure of each angle in the regular hexagon? So again, this is a regular hexagon, and we're finding each angle. You're doing the same thing as number 6 and 7, except now it's with a hexagon. Okay? All right, so turn this in by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thanks.